Hello everyone and welcome to the 5th episode of Wishing Stars and Mickey Bars. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Disney Vacation Club resorts here at Walt Disney World, our experience staying in them last year, and we're going to answer some of your questions, so stay tuned.
We are Robert and Alyssa, also known as Here with the Ears. We lived the entire year of 2019 in the Walt Disney World resorts, sharing our experiences and adventures on social media and YouTube. Wishing Stars and Mickey Bars is our weekly show where we share tips, stories, and more about our year living in the resorts and our continued Disney adventures. In today's episode, we'll be talking about the Disney Vacation Club resorts and giving some information on those and answering some of your questions.
And we have had a lot of questions about Disney Vacation Club in general and the resorts as well.
Yeah.
So we're not going to make this kind of a general overview of DVC. We're not going to try and dig into that too deeply, but we will give you an idea. So if you don't know, Disney Vacation Club is Disney's version of a timeshare. So you do buy in to this Disney Vacation Club program. You get 50 years worth of points, which is what you use to make your room reservations with your contract. And then you can go to Disney World using those points and stay in the different Disney Vacation Club resorts. Now, there's a lot more to it, and we've got some other videos on that topic, so we're not going to try to dive into it too much here. But the bottom line is, as a member, you have an allotment of points, and you can use those points to book different rooms at the DVC resorts.
Some of the things that make the Disney Vacation Club resorts unique are the amenities that they offer. For instance, they have tennis courts, basketball courts, grilling stations, fitness centers. So those are all extra amenities that you could have while you're on vacation. And many of them have community halls, which are probably some of our favorite things that they offer.
And we did get a lot of questions about the community halls, so we're going to answer and kind of go into detail on that a little bit more later. Now, going back to the rooms, we have a few different room types with Disney Vacation Club. It's not your typical hotel. So they have deluxe studios, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. And they also have a few other random room types depending on which resort you're at. So for example, at Vero Beach Resort, which is not here on Walt Disney World property, they have the in-room buildings, which are basically normal hotel rooms that have a small kitchenette in them. And then you have the Tower Studio at Riviera, which is a totally brand new room type. Yep. They've never done it before. I'm still not really like crazy about it, but it's a very small room that only sleeps 2 people. And it's only at Riviera Resort. You can see the video on our YouTube channel if you want to check out the room. It's a really unique room. And I don't know that I would ever stay there again after staying there just because I like having a little more space. But it is one of the available room types. All of the Disney Vacation Club resorts here on Walt Disney World property do have deluxe studios, including Riviera. And the deluxe studio will sleep 4 to 5 people, and it's kind of similar to your typical hotel room. Yep. It's a little bit of a different setup because most of them have a queen bed and then a pull-out couch bed. So you don't have 2 like real beds. Some of them have Murphy beds instead, and some of them have full-size versus queen-size pull-outs, and then Old Key West has a real queen bed. So it kind of varies, but for the most part, it's going to sleep 4 to 5 people, and it's going to be a pull-out couch unless it's specified otherwise. They also have a kitchenette in each of those studios, so you have a mini fridge, you have a sink, you have a microwave, paper plates, plasticware. If you're there for just kind of a quick trip and you're going to maybe reheat some leftovers or microwave some things in the morning or maybe make some toast or Pop-Tarts or whatever, it's nice to have that compared to a regular hotel room. Now, when you get beyond the deluxe studios, you have the rooms that are a little bit larger. You have the 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom villas. A lot of members like these rooms because they like to come with larger groups or larger family. So the 1-bedroom villa is pretty much the same as the studio as far as sleeping capacity. You have 4 to 5 people in the 1-bedrooms. But the big difference is the room is a lot larger. You actually have a dedicated master bedroom suite. And you have a full-size kitchen. That's another big benefit for that 1-bedroom. And then, of course, the 2 and the 3 bedrooms also have a full-size kitchen. And then the 3-bedroom villas, they call them 3-bedroom grand villas. And that is completely on purpose because they make them grand. They try to be impressive, whether it's having 2 stories with a window that goes all the way to the top and you can see over the lake or the theme park for that matter. Or they've got a theater room, or they have a pool table, or whatever it is. They try to be really kind of grand.
In their grand villa. So speaking of grand villas, we did actually get a question about grand villas. Someone asked, what is your favorite 3-bedroom grand villa, excluding the cabins at Copper Creek or the bungalows at the Polynesian.
Okay, well, we have to exclude the cabins at Copper Creek and the bungalows at Polynesian because those are totally unique. They are actually only 2 bedrooms. So they would be considered the equivalent of a 2-bedroom villa, except the point cost is more like that of a 3-bedroom grand villa.
But they did put the grand into those
Oh,
2-bedroom
they
villas.
definitely made them impressive, but it still only sleeps up to 8 people, so we do have to kind of like leave that out. And of course, the cabins were our favorite stay of the entire year last year, so we're biased towards it. So if we had to pick a favorite 3-bedroom grand villa, I don't know that I can pick a favorite. I mean, I can pick a favorite, but they're all unique. And so, for example, if I were coming and trying to just bring, assuming we're bringing 12 people, and we're trying to fit as many people as we can in the room, we're going as cheap as we can, but we still want to have everyone in the same room together, I would go with Old Key West because it's the cheapest as far as point cost. Now, if I'm not maybe bringing 12 people, I'm bringing 8 or 10 people, but we need a 4th bedroom in a 3-bedroom villa. There are no 4th bedrooms, but Grand Floridian has a theater room, and the theater room is where they have the pull-out couch instead of the living room. So technically, you can have someone in that room as their own bedroom. So it kind of depends on the party makeup and how much time you're planning to spend at the resort. If I was spending a lot of time at the resort, I would have to factor in the layout of the room and what's in the room. Like, for example, the pool table over at Jumbo House.
That one's my personal favorite. So this was one of the most exciting things, in my opinion, throughout the year, because we walked into the room not knowing what to expect, and we're looking at everything, and you run into a pool table. There's just a pool table in there because it's a grand villa. So, of course, that was just amazing to see, and of course we played multiple times. I lost every single time, but it was still fun. And I loved that grand villa because of the layout and the theming, but it also had 3 balconies where we could see the animals on the savannah there at Animal Kingdom Lodge. So that was so well thought through, in my opinion, because instead of just having 1 on each end, we had 3. So as the animals rotated and moved, whether they're eating, sleeping, whatever they're doing, as they rotated through the savannah, we were able to be near them as they rotated. And I love that so much. I love animals. So that was a really fun stay, in my opinion, and that would be a big one for me because of the food options, too, at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and again, seeing the animals. So if I had to choose one, I think that would have to be my one.
And if I had to choose one, let's say it was just us and we were bringing your family down. That's kind of the context I have because we would all fit in a grand villa if your family came. I would probably go with Copper Creek because I really like the layout there. Obviously, I like Copper Creek, but I really like the layout. And I like that it has the view of Bay Lake. And I love Bay Lake. So that one kind of is like having the balcony right there overlooking Bay Lake, especially if you get a higher floor. I would probably go with that one, closely followed by Bay Lake Tower.
I'll say we both loved Bay Lake Tower.
But
the
I would
windows were amazing.
But I would also want the lake view at Bay Lake Tower, not theme park view.
But if you had the theme park view and they were doing fireworks, you could get an amazing view of Happily Ever After from your room. And I think another runner-up for us would be Grand Floridian as well.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, it had the theater room, and we had a beautiful view of the lake. So I really liked the layout of that one. Having that extra bedroom was huge, and that could be a huge advantage for many families depending on the makeup of the party. Yeah. So I think those 2 would have to be some runner-ups for us, though.
Definitely. Another question we got was, what would you pick as the best resort for a resort-only stay with maybe Disney Springs but no parks?
Okay. So our answers differ on this one, which is kind of fun because you get 2 different opinions there. For me, it would have to be a resort that either has a community hall or Beach Club Villas. So Beach Club Villas has the most amazing pool on Disney property. And so if you're big on like swimming or just going in the lazy river, an amazing pool slide, that's the place to go. Now the downside to that is this is Florida, which means it could rain a lot.
Often.
And so you may run into issues where now you don't have anything to do outside because they do have places you can rent boats and all that, but if it's raining or even lightning, you can't go to the pool, you can't do those activities. But if you go to a resort like Boardwalk that has a great community hall, you have things to do even if it's raining. They have board games, they've got video games, they've got crafts, so you always have something to do even if you can't go outside. And honestly, even if it's not raining, if you're here in the middle of July, it's very hot. And so you get to do something indoors where it's air conditioned and still have a great time with the whole family.
Now, I would kind of go a different direction with this because, yes, the resort I chose does have a community hall, but I would choose Saratoga Springs Resort because, number one, it's proximity to Disney Springs. I would request, obviously not guaranteed, but request the Congress Park section when I book a preferred room so that I'm close to Disney Springs. I can actually walk across the bridge to Disney Springs, which I really like because it really expands your options as far as dining goes. You don't just have to eat at the resort you're at. For example, you mentioned Beach Club. Beach Club's kind of limited with the number of dining options. Even if you walk over to Boardwalk, there's not a ton there, especially at breakfast. But if you're doing something at Saratoga Springs, you can walk over to Disney Springs. Or if you're not in Congress Park, you can take the boat. The boat is a really quick ride right across the water to Disney Springs. So I would pick Saratoga Springs as my resort-only stay. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't go anywhere else because I like the Disney Springs aspect. Key West, I would be like right underneath it, but it's a little further from Disney Springs, and the boat ride takes longer, so that's Saratoga gets the edge on that.
And you could run into issues with the boat ride if there is lightning in the area.
Then you're waiting for a bus again.
Yeah. We've mentioned a couple different times now about community halls, and that leads us into our next question. What is community hall, and which DVC resorts have one?
So the community hall is a pretty nice perk of DVC resorts when they have them. Not all of them do. It's basically an activity center or a game room. So you can go there, especially when it's raining out. It's really nice to have. You can go there and play games. They have like board games and puzzles you can check out and use. A lot of them have DVDs that you can rent for free, take back to your room, and all the rooms have DVD or Blu-ray players. And if they don't, they'll bring one to the room for you. They also have, a lot of them have video games where you can sit there and play video games. They've got PlayStations and Wii's and whatever else. They also have movies playing in there pretty much nonstop the whole time they're open. Some of them have pinball machines. Some have foosball tables, ping pong, all these different things. So it's really just a big activity center where you can go and find something to do. And that's just the free stuff. They also have paid activities, which I know you enjoy a lot of the paid activities at the community hall.
I do. They have canvas bag paintings, ceramic paintings, magnets, so many different crafts. And especially around the holidays, they'll do specific holiday decorations, which I really enjoy. I know we did a Halloween pillow, we did some Christmas crafts. So those are a lot of fun. Sometimes they're free, sometimes they're paid, but there's always something to do, even if you're just coloring.
And as far as which resorts have them, this has kind of changed recently. So first off, there's the resorts that always have community halls. We'll go into those because those are permanent. So we have Bay Lake Tower has a community hall. So does Saratoga Springs and Old Key West. Animal Kingdom Lodge, both Kidani Village and Jambo House have their own. Boardwalk has a really good one that you've already mentioned. And then Polynesian doesn't have a community hall, but they have Lilo's Playhouse, which is kind of like a community hall, except it's only open a few hours a day. So I don't count it because it's not an official community hall, but it does have some things you can do when they're open. You just have to check the hours. Now, with the reopening of the resorts, they've also added temporary community halls at a couple resorts. So Riviera has taken their room where they normally do paid activities and things, and they've turned that into a temporary community hall where you can do free and paid things. And then at Copper Creek / Boulder Ridge over at Wilderness Lodge, they've turned Reunion Station into a temporary community hall. And I'm personally selfishly hoping that that one just stays community hall after this is all over. But
Agreed.
We'll see. Hopefully they get really good feedback on it and that doesn't go anywhere because it's nice having one there since we stay there fairly often.
It is, and especially with having 2 different Disney Vacation Club resorts there, personally we think that should be there permanently. So, if you're watching this, we do love that there is a community hall there now, and of course that just adds to why we love Copper Creek so much.
Kind of related to the community hall question, several people asked us, what is the best family-friendly DVC resort? And I'm assuming by that they mean if you had a party of, say, a couple younger kids, maybe a few that were almost teenagers, and then some that were teenagers, which resort would you pick that has something for everyone?
So this is a really good question because, again, every party is different, whether you have small children or teenagers or all adults. But if you're trying as a whole to accommodate several different age ranges, for me, I would choose Animal Kingdom Lodge because either side, Jambo or Kidani, because they have so many great activities. They've got the cultural activities, they've got the savannah that even if you don't have savannah view from your room, you can still go to the savannah and see the animals. Great food options.
Amazing food options.
Between Boma and Chico and Sanaa, so many great options there. Mara, even the quick service. So they have great food options there, and they both have pool slides and great pools. So I think that would have to be my number one. Now, Polynesian does great activities, so
Yeah, they do.
that would be another one for me.
I also really like Polynesian's feature pool. Their feature
true.
pool
It's very
is
well
really
themed.
cool. I really like that one.
And there's great food there. So again, accommodating a ton of different age ranges. Polynesian's a great one. And the final one that I would have to say is Riviera, because it does have amazing food options as well. The Skyliner's a big perk, and they have really unique activities there. So a lot of the resorts have very similar activities that they offer, but I feel like Riviera's kind of thought outside the box in a lot of their stuff. So we found some really unique, fun things to do there. So that would be a good one as well.
I think the only downside to Riviera, though, would be the food options, because Riviera is kind of limited on the food. You have a great quick service, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. And then you have Topolino's Terrace, which breakfast with the characters, that's awesome. Great
So
food.
fun.
We really enjoy that. And then a signature dinner at the same restaurant. But there's no kind of mid-tier, low-tier table service. Like, for example, at Polynesian, you have Kona Cafe as the alternative to Ohana. So I kind of don't like that aspect of it. I guess you could walk around the water over to Caribbean Beach and go to Sebastian's, or maybe get the quick service there. And you do have the pool bar as well. But outside the activities and stuff, the one drawback that puts Riviera lower on the list for me would be the food. Other than that, I agree with Animal Kingdom Lodge and also Polynesian.
Speaking of food, which DVC resort do you think has the best food options for the whole family?
So the best food options as a whole. Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw in a disclaimer right now. We're going to make this assessment based on pre-shutdown reopening restaurants. So assuming everything was reopened and back to quote-unquote normal, that's what we're going to talk about. Because with everything reopening, you have the fact that, all the character meals are gone except for Topolino's Terrace that we mentioned at Riviera. And, of course, Garden Grill and Epcot as well. But at the resorts, there's just the one, and all the buffets are closed. So, we're not factoring that in because things are reopening at different paces and things are changing all the time. We're just going to pretend everything's reopened and go with that. And if everything were reopened back to normal, I think I would choose Wilderness Lodge as the one with the most family-friendly, whole family option food availability, because you have two quick service locations. You have the main food court, if you will, and then you also have the outside by Geyser Point where you have a quick service window. You can get burgers and things like that. Then you have the table service options that are lounges. You have Geyser Point, one of our favorite lounges on property.
Yes.
You also have Territory Lounge, which has amazing little small plates, and also their cobbler is phenomenal. Love the cobbler there. And then you have table service. You have Whispering Canyon, which is family style, all you can eat. They have barbecue and things like that. And then you have the Artist Point character dining with Snow White, Dopey, Grumpy, and the Evil Queen. It's great food. It's a prefix menu. It's pretty simple, pretty easy to go through and eat there with kids. The characters come to the table, all that stuff. I would have to pick Wilderness Lodge because there's a large number of choices and they have variety. I think maybe a close second for me would probably be Polynesian because they have Ohana, then they have Kona Cafe, and they have the Kona Cafe window where you can get small pastries and stuff. And then they have Captain Cook's, which is in my opinion top 5 quick service locations.
Those
nachos. The pulled pork nachos, and then the coconut curry meatballs. Is that coconut curry? Is that what it is? Coconut meatballs? Whatever it was. Phenomenal meatballs. All the different food there is great. So, and then if you go to the bar side of things, you have Trader Sam's, you have the lounge upstairs, Tambu Lounge. You've got a lot of options at Polynesian too. I think there's a few more and a few better options overall at Wilderness Lodge, but Poly would be my second runner-up.
Yeah, so I agree with both of those. And I would have to add to the list Grand Floridian because they have the 24/7 pizza normally. At this time, they do not. But I know we went and got a pizza at 3 a.m. one time. The parks were open late. We were starving when we got back to the resort. So we ended up getting a pizza. They have 1900 Park Fare, which breakfast has characters and dinner has characters. Yeah. So they're so much fun, especially the Evil Stepsisters at dinner. That was probably the best character meal we had all year because they just made us laugh and laugh and laugh. Love them so much. So we really enjoyed both meals there.
Yeah.
And then Grand Floridian Cafe, which has really good food. And now that they've opened Enchanted Rose, That lounge is really quiet, has great food and drinks. We really enjoyed it up there, and I like the theming really well.
Yeah, especially when the orchestra's playing down the first floor and just kind of carrying up there. Yeah, I didn't really put Grand Floridian on my list, but I think that's a really good option, solid option as well.
So those would definitely have to be our top 3.
Yeah. And the next question we have is a little more personal. A lot of people want to know, how many points do we actually have? I think it's probably because we stayed in the resorts a whole year and we stayed in the DVC side of things for like 3 months, almost 4 months, I think, out of the year. It was almost 4 full months. So people want to know how many points we have.
So we did stay in every single DVC room type except the 2 and 3 bedroom at Riviera because it opened so late in the year. It opened December 16th. But with that, I think we own less points than people think. We actually own 475 points. We have 425 at Copper Creek and 50 at Riviera. And we banked and borrowed our points to use them for the year living in the resorts. And then we also rented a lot of points.
A lot.
To get the rest that we needed.
Yeah, because it was a lot more than just the 1,200 and some points that we had. It was quite a few more than that. So the rental is how we took care of that.
This is a really unique question. Someone asked, is there anything you wish you had or had not done when you joined DVC?
I never look back, darling. It distracts from the now.
Of course he did.
But really, though, I have looked back at what we did and when we joined, and I will say that all of our points we bought directly from Disney. They were new resorts that were available. They had different incentives and stuff, but it was brand new, full price points, basically. I think the question is most likely kind of leaning into the resale versus direct question, which is a lot more than I can answer here in this video, and I will make a separate video on that at some point. But I don't really have anything that I would change necessarily. It's kind of my style and the way that we live our lives. We would rather just buy them direct. The savings of resale versus what we'd lose from it didn't really appeal to us. And we had also, you got to consider, we had the factor of living in the resorts for a year to think about. Like that was coming up for us, and we bought leading into that with the intention of using them to live in the resorts for a year. So it changed our values and what we were looking for a little bit compared to some other people. So I don't really have anything I wish I'd done differently, but there is one thing I wish that I had done that I didn't do, and that was research just a little bit more on the benefits of being a member, specifically if you buy direct, because some of the benefits don't apply if you buy resale and whatever. Actually, most of the benefits don't apply if you buy resale, but there's a ton of things available to members. Some of it free, some of it paid, some of it discounted. Like all these different things that we honestly did not have any idea.
And we're still
finding things. And so I wish I had taken the time when we joined in 2018, leading into 2019, to learn exactly what all we were entitled to so that we could take full advantage of it, which we're trying to do now.
One of those things that he's talking about is Moonlight Magic events. So those are after-hours events for Disney Vacation Club members that are free, and those are so much fun. They have special fireworks, you get a quick service meal, shorter ride times because there's less people in the park, and you get amazing special character meet and greets that we just absolutely loved. We've met some very unique characters that never come out other times, but we didn't realize that that was a perk or even knew what Moonlight Magic was until we were living in the resorts. After we went to one, we made sure we were at every single one we could be after that. So things like that, special photo opportunities, and again, like you mentioned, even just discounts. Discounts on food and merch. So there's a lot we didn't know about that we're still learning about, and we definitely wish we had done more research after we joined with everything that was included.
And that brings us to our final question. They want to know, what is your personal top 3 DVC resorts? And again, with a disclaimer, this is from a couple with no children. So we're basing it on the studios for the most part, because that's normally where we're going to stay. And it's also going to include factoring in the food and the activities that are available, as well as the location of the resort. So all of those factors combined is kind of how we are judging what our top 3 resorts are.
And this is actually a really tough question because we have stayed in all of the Walt Disney World resorts, which includes all the DVC resorts, and they're all unique in their own way. There are things we love about each of them, favorite food spots, favorite activities. We have memories in all of them. So this was actually a really tough question. So my top 3 in no particular order are Old Key West, Animal Kingdom Lodge, and Riviera Resort. So Riviera has the option of the Skyliner, which gets you to 2 of the parks really quickly. Like we mentioned before, we loved Topolino's Terrace. The food there for breakfast and dinner, the characters, lots of great options. The pool was really nice. The activities are unique. So I have to go with that one. Old Key West, I love the relaxed vibe there. It's so relaxed, so laid back. They've got a fun run. They've got a lot of fun activities, the community hall. So I have to go with Old Key West 'cause that's a favorite of mine. And then Animal Kingdom Lodge, Jambo House, as we mentioned before, the animals. I love animals. Getting to see them is a huge deal to me. So that's so much fun. Amazing food options. Chico is our all-time favorite restaurant in the resorts, so of course that's a huge draw there. And the cultural activities, you're learning but you're also having a good time. And so I really enjoy that at that resort. And the drummers are a big deal as well for kids.
Are a lot of fun.
But we enjoyed it too. We had a really good time with
fun.
it. So those are my top 3 Disney Vacation Club resorts.
And my top 3, I will put in a particular order. I'm going to start with number 3. And for me, Old Key West comes in at number 3. And I like Old Key West for a lot of the same reasons you do. It's very chill. I also like that the rooms are a little bit bigger. Though it is kind of a downside to me that they have 2 queen-size beds versus a queen-size bed and a pull-out. Because we don't use both beds. We would like to have a couch in the room. But the rooms are bigger, and I like that. And I like the fact that you have a very large spread out resort, so you don't feel like you're on top of each other. And you do have to walk more, but we are fine walking, so that's okay. And of course the activities and the food there. Olivia's is a great restaurant. We love eating there. I wish they had one more restaurant there. If they had one more option, I think it would probably bump up on my list a little bit. But my list is largely centered around food, so I can't really, do that because I have better food options at my other 2 resorts. The second one for me, my number 2, is going to be Riviera Resort, partially because it's the newest. And when they're new, they're nice. And it's nice having everything brand new, sparkly, shiny. It's really cool. The food options there are amazing. I love their quick service and their pool bar. They both have excellent food.
That's true.
So I would definitely go with Riviera for my number 2. And my number 1 is different than yours, and it's probably going to surprise everyone who's ever watched any of our videos.
Surprises no one.
My favorite, number 1, is Copper Creek. It's because I love the theming, I love the atmosphere, I love the whole vibe of the resort as a whole. All the dining options, we kind of talked about them already, but I could talk about them all day because I love them, especially the bison burger over at Geyser Point. Amazing. Best burger on property, in my opinion.
That is true.
So I would have to definitely say Copper Creek as my favorite. And then it kind of has the extra bonus, if you're willing to spend the points, that they have the cabins out there by the lake. It's a nice little splurge thing, and that is part of the resort, so I do factor that in too.
Okay. We hope you enjoyed this episode and that it helped answer some of your questions about the Disney Vacation Club resorts. Next week on Wishing Stars and Mickey Bars, we'll be discussing things to do at Disney Springs. And yes, there is more to Disney Springs than food. There are actually fun things to do.
Wait, what?
I know, this
is entirely new. You're telling me people go to Disney Springs to do things besides eat? Because there are some, I could talk all day about food options at Disney Springs. There's some amazing food there.
But there's also a lot of fun things to do. And that's what we're going to talk about next week. So head over to Here With The Ears on Instagram and Facebook on Tuesday, where we'll be asking what your questions are about some of the activities and things to do at Disney Springs.
Besides eat, apparently.
And for even more Disney fun, tomorrow, Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern, we'll be going live from Magic Kingdom. We hope you all can join us and enjoy some Disney magic. Thank you for watching, and until next time.
We're Here With The Ears.